All right. Hey, it's Brent Leary. It's the first a few good minutes of the week. Wow, these weeks are just kind of running right next to each other, but I am glad to be doing this conversation. Last year, a little over a year ago, I had an opportunity to speak to Bryan Catanzaro from Nvidia, and we had this really great conversation about how they are using technology like conversational AI, graphical AI, voice synthesis, all these cool technologies to try to improve the way that we engage each other, whether it's through imagery or whether it's through sound and voice and all these cool things. So I am so really excited to talk to Erik Pounds, who is, I want to make sure I get your title right, Senior Director of Enterprise Computing and Data Science at Nvidia, to kind of see what's been going on the last year since my conversation with Bryan. So Erik, thank you for joining me, man. This is great.
Yeah, hey Brent, pleasure to be on your show. Happy to be here. We can talk about the trends in AI and what's going on and in improving customer experiences with AI and how this is all evolving. A lot of us we experience this as consumers. Aside from those of us that produce technology and and help customers integrate technology, we experience these things on a daily basis. As we integrate with our own personal lives with services and things like this. And definitely we're in this time of transformation and we can probably all feel certain things happening, but also we understand there's a long way to go.
Yeah.
So, so anyway, there's, it's a great time right now to be working in this area.
Cool. So when I talked to Bryan last year, it seemed like there was this set of videos that had recently come out that NVIDIA put out. I think it's like I am AI or something like that. And so it was some really cool stuff, like showing how this kind of symphony of music was created with AI, and how the person narrating the video was a synthetic voice. All these really cool things. And so as we started talking, Bryan said something that really stood out to me, and I'm going to play you a clip from me talking to Bryan last year, excuse me.
It's a story about AI getting better, but it's also a story about how humans work more closely with AI to build things. We're hard at work on algorithms that are able to predict all of that humanity, the rhythm, the inflection, the pitch. And I think that we are going to, see some pretty amazing advances in that over the next few years, where we can have a fully push button speech synthesis system that has the right inflection to go along with the meaning of the text. When you speak, a lot of the meaning is conveyed through the inflection of your voice, not just the meaning of the words that you choose. If we have models that are able to understand the meaning of text, like some of these amazing language models, we should be able to use those to direct speech synthesis in a way that has meaning.
I love pretty much everything he said here. But now that we are kind of a year forward from that, where are we today with some of these things? And maybe I should even take a step back, because there's conversational AI. There's a term that it's thrown out a lot. There's speech AI. Maybe you could just take a moment just to, is there any distinction between the two? What are we dealing with when it comes to speech AI and conversational AI?
Yeah, and just to set the stage a bit, you mentioned the I am AI video, and Bryan talked a little bit there about helping humans and building a human-like experience. What we show in the I am AI video, those are all real stories. It shows what's going to be possible, with AI. And when a lot of people think about bringing AI to an application or interacting with an AI, they think very far in advance into the future. But there's incremental steps that businesses can take to leverage these technologies to help them remain very competitive and reach their next levels of success. So when we think about speech AI and in broader conversational AI technologies, and then we apply it to something very practical like customer service or providing better customer experiences, there's a lot of really incremental steps that people can take to get there. When we think of speech AI, think of functions like automatic speech recognition, where the AI is running in the background and can immediately recognize what you're saying. It can transcribe what's being said. It can then act in real time on that information. And you can provide a lot of helpful things by doing that. Imagine a customer service agent on the back end of a phone conversation. A lot of us, on the other end, on the consumer side, like we want to, and what do we really want? Well, one, we like talking to humans. And the other is we want to get help quickly, right? So imagine using it on the back end of it. So on the agent side, imagine if I'm talking to an agent trying to get some help and I'm asking a bunch of questions. Imagine if the AI is running in the background, pulling up knowledge base articles, finding information, finding helpful tools, and help me answer my question. So then the agent has all this information right at their fingertips to help me solve my problem. It's like having, almost like the superpower sitting right next to you to help someone have a great experience and solve their challenges, right? So when we think about AI, like especially in that context, it's not about replacing the human, with a robot that you'll talk to. There's these incremental steps that are going to be able to help businesses that provide a service to their clients for literally decades to come.
I went to the Nvidia website and found a couple of things that are really interesting. And I want to bring this up. Call center transcription. About 10 million call center agents are answering 2 billion phone calls daily worldwide. Call center use cases include all the following: trend analysis, regulatory compliance, real-time security and fraud analysis, real-time sentiment analysis, real-time translation. I think when people, like you said, when people think of AI, they have this kind of narrow definition and a narrow kind of view of what it can actually impact. But as you can see here, when it comes to really the customer experience, when they need help, it feels like not just the AI, but the combination of kind of at least feeling like you're communicating with a human, at least a human sounding thing, or somebody who has some sort of human empathy, is just as important as having the right data at their disposal.
Absolutely. And so data is the foundational element of all of this, right? So obviously if we transcribe a call, that produces data in real time, but also there's other data that is already in existence, often sitting at rest inside of a business that can be leveraged. And so, I think one of the best strategies any business can take is figuring out, all right, what is the valuable data that I already have, that I already possess, and how can I leverage that to provide better customer experiences, right? Some of it can be just general data. I mean, for example, every time a customer transaction occurs, an engagement occurs, that produces data. You can gain a lot of information from that with regards to trends and patterns and things like this that could help future customers, right? There's also every one of these, often a lot of these calls, interactions are transcribed and stored. We all hear that part of the beginning of any call, like, this call may be, monitored, and, if you proceed, this is what's going to happen. Well, that's essentially, think of that as almost like crowdsourcing information. You can really leverage that information to your best benefit. So I think a lot of it starts with the foundation of how you leverage and utilize data.
So let's talk about, when you think of, the contact center, you think of, trying to help resolve an issue that a customer has. And a lot of the focus, and rightfully so, is on trying to provide the best experience possible to a customer, particularly when they're in some sort of need. Either they could be, a kind of a casual need. Oh yeah, it'd be great to get this done. Or it could be pretty urgent, but it's all about the experience of, providing that need, filling that need. But there's also the component of the actual contact center agent who wants to be able to help and wants to be able to, provide the kind of experiences that customers are looking for. So how does this aspect of AI, of speech AI, how does that impact the way that an employee goes about servicing and helping customers?
Sure. I mean, we talked about ways that the AI can in real time transcribe what the information that's coming to them through their customer's voice and help them then pull up helpful information. it can also help them even in the background resolve issues automatically, where the customer service agent is the friendly voice, is the navigator that's helping them get through things. But the AI can actually act on some of the challenges that is being expressed by the customer or the client. I think another thing is which is often overlooked is that if you're a customer service agent or anyone helping people, nothing is more satisfying than being able to help them quickly, as well as be able to help more people during their working hours, right? So if we could help agents help 20 people a day instead of 8 people a day, for example, there's just inherent satisfaction in being able to do that, right? And obviously, on a engagement by engagement basis, just increasing the overall satisfaction rate. I mean, when you flip it around, you look at it from us that is engaging with these, with these companies and their representatives. Even if we start with a challenge, and we may be frustrated and whatever, if that's resolved quickly, you're almost happier with that service provider or that vendor than you were even going into that, right? Because you realize, wow, they're here for me when I have a tough challenge.
A lot of I was reading during the kind of the peak of the pandemic, the growth of the number of calls coming into the contact center, it's like exponential growth.
Oh yeah.
But I was reading somewhere, I can't remember exactly where, but it was like some pretty significant percentage, around 40% or so, were people calling the contact center just to talk, just to want to, kind of engage. They were kind of, they needed help and assistance, but a lot of times they just wanted to hear another human voice. Can you talk a little bit about the component of this where we're not just able to have great, natural language transcription and understanding, but also the sentiment component, the ability to leverage empathy along with the speech AI as part of the combination, because part of it is solving the challenge or helping, but the other part is how it happens and the feeling that people get, not only from getting the thing corrected, but the manner in which the thing was corrected, the manner in which they were engaged, their community, the empathy going back and forth. Can you talk a little bit about where we are with that?
Yeah, I mean, there's as we're talking like humans, right? Often when we say one thing and then you respond, and I say another thing, that following sentence is tied to the first sentence. When you look at how traditionally algorithms have worked, they often don't understand that context. They're not they're not processing that or taking that into consideration. That is possible now. For example, we've put out some demos recently at our conference. Just last month, Nvidia GTC, we put out a demo. It's a customer service demo using a AI framework that we call Nvidia Tokyo, that shows exactly how this works with regards to providing an interaction that is lifelike, that understands kind of what I'm saying, what I'm asking for, and be able to do it in a natural type of flow of a human conversation. And that is critical as we automate more of the complete process. That's absolutely critical, because like you said, we want to interact with humans, right? Like you said, someone calls in, they want to hear a human voice. They want someone that is friendly, that understands them, that appreciates what they're saying. If the AI is built to that level, it needs to be able to do that. Otherwise, the experience isn't going to be good. I think this is important when we're talking about AI technology. When it comes to speech AI or conversational AI, there's a lot of technicalities of like, all right, well, what percentage of the words you're saying do I understand, and how all these, am I able to understand your words in a noisy environment? Am I able to do all this stuff? And that's how the technology works. But what really matters is it a great experience or is it not a great experience? You can apply amazing technology to this challenge and still not provide a great customer experience. And that's the most important thing, right? So we've taken the approach with our technology that like one of the most important things that we can help our customers do is take the AI, take these pre-trained models and be able to customize them for their own domain and their own environments, right? So, if you're running a call center where most of the discussions are around botany, I mean, I can't remember the names of the plants that I've changed 3 times in my front yard, right? But if that's the case, you need to make sure that this AI understands certain terminologies and phrases and context around that domain. Or if it's a medical devices company, you can imagine there's a lot of things that will be discussed in that conversation that are not in a normal conversation that an AI model would be trained in. So customization is super important, as well as lingo, right? So based on the areas of the world that your customers live in or call in from, right? You want to be able to understand dialects, lingo, things like this, and be able to handle that properly. So a lot of this is not, you can't just take a stock AI model and deploy it to work in an environment that provides a great experience everywhere. Customization is going to be very important.
Yeah. And I think when you think about conversational AI, a lot of times you kind of immediately, not the folks that are in the trenches, but just generally speaking, a lot of folks think of, conversational. That just means, voice, talking, like a human. But it also could be interacting with a bot or something of that nature, because it's still, some sort of a language being used to get a problem solved or to make a connection. It feels like the bots, the kind of the text-based AI has been, rightfully so, I think, a little further along in its adoption. Where is the voice AI adoption with some of these things that we're talking about?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's advancing very, very quickly. Even on websites, where almost every website you go to now, you see the little thing in the bottom right-hand corner. It pops up saying, "How can I help you?" Or even sometimes now tries to understand the context of what you've been looking at. Right? It knows that you've been to this page and read this article and done this, and it pops up and asks you at the right time. They try and time it, ask you some question, and then if you want to answer, you can, and you type some response, and it actually it feels fairly smart. I think more and more you're going to see these where voice is going to be engaged in those types of interactions. I also think you're going to see a lot of avatars being built that can, because even if it's not human to human, being able to see something that that reacts, right, versus just text pop up on a straight screen, gives you some level of comfort and engagement, right? So I think avatar is another area where you're going to see. I mean, that demo I mentioned that we did at GTC with this framework called Nvidia Tokyo is a very visual avatar, with the idea that it makes you feel more engaged with how you interact with the service.
Yeah, as I'm listening to you talk and thinking about just enterprises and a lot in the kind of CRM CX space. There's a lot of focus on kind of the vendors that I interact with a lot. The kind of the Microsoft, the SAPs, the Salesforces, and Oracles, and things of that nature. And they're focused on this, really building out the platforms in industries and understanding, what needs to happen, or what kind of platform features or functionalities need to be, kind of presented for particular vertical industries. How hard is that to take into consideration when you're doing this? Because like you said, there's the kind of the general language, there's general independent language and understanding all the words and grammar that goes into that. There's, different multi-languages, then you have to figure all that stuff. And then there's actual domain and industry piece. How far along are we in being able to kind of use these technologies and use them in particular industries and understand the kind of the domain speak and what's going on in those particular industries, and being able to pull these technologies together that to touch on those things?
So well, from a customization standpoint, we're there now. So for example, you had Nvidia, we have our speech AI framework is called Nvidia Riva. As part of that framework, it comes with a set of pre-trained models. So these are AI models that you can literally deploy untouched and they operate. But you mentioned like whether it's each industry or each type of business, they have their own vocabulary, they have their own conversations that come up often, and that AI model needs to be able to participate very well in that domain. Otherwise, you're not going to have a great experience. So, for example, the way it would work is you could take like one of these NVIDIA Riva pre-trained models, and then you can take your own data. So let's just say transcriptions of existing calls. You could take that data, and then you can retrain the NVIDIA model with that data and essentially make it your own and make it work really well for your domain. So think of the pre-trained model. It's like we use like a football analogy. It's like starting on your opponent's 10-yard line. Like you're already 90% of the way there, and then you use your own data and customize it to get across the goal line to provide that great experience. So NVIDIA Riva has those pre-trained models, and then we have a tool that we call Tau Toolkit. You apply your own data, it retrains the model. Now you have a model customized for your own environment. So that's one example. So I think when you're, we're early on in this, right? So the leaders in each industry are still somewhat paving the way. A lot of enterprises don't like being a leader. They love being a fast follower. And so I think now is the time for these fast followers. We have the AI built, we have these tools available where they can take it and make use of it and bring these types of capabilities to their own environment. So it's very important. I would say, because the things that really matter to get this across the line is, you don't want to start from scratch. So pre-trained models are a great way to start. Often enterprises have to deploy these technologies in many different areas. Always take a cloud native approach. That doesn't mean you have to deploy it in the cloud, but a cloud native approach, it can run in any public cloud. It can run in a data center. It can run in an edge colo. It can run wherever you need it to run and move around, right? And leverage, try and find it when you develop, an AI capability, try and make it usable by multiple services. Try not to silo things. So, there's a way that enterprises are doing this through like a microservices architecture to deploy some service, and then multiple applications can then tap into and leverage that service through an API. So, there's a lot of interesting ways to get this going.
Yeah. So, what are some of the things that are, maybe companies are still trying to get their head around in terms of moving forward with this? It sounds like there's already, you said it's still early days, but there's still things that are already in place that you can start to build on. Or are there things that are still challenges that are keeping companies from really moving forward with some of the things that we've already just talked about?
Yeah, in the context of this conversation, like you mentioned, you have a good relationship with a bunch of companies that build these CRM platforms that are used by many different enterprises, and organizations. Often an enterprise they have their existing service stack or tech stack, and they want to do something new. Sometimes that where they are today has some limitations. So it's that often adds some complexities, because part of it is, well, I can build this on my own and plug it into my existing platform. Or sometimes you got to go back to your ISV, make a feature request saying, hey, we really want to do this. What are your ideas? I think most importantly, it's get those conversations going, understand the data that's at your fingertips, understand what you can do on your own, what your ISVs are capable of doing, what you could even possibly be able to do if you had just a little bit of consulting help. I think you just having that full understanding so you can make positive steps forward. Most first AI projects inside enterprises are used to kind of, they cut their teeth with them, right? They're not always successful. This is a new technology. So I would say, being prepared as much as possible. So you have, the greatest chance of success in your first project is super important right now.
Yeah. I think of, the contact center is just a very natural place for companies to start with some of these technologies. But one of the things that I've had this fantasy, I kind of stepping outside a little bit of the traditional kind of CX landscape, but just being able to, get one of the things, let's say from a CRM application perspective, particularly if you're like a salesperson, they hate using CRM. They don't like putting in stuff. They don't want to. They didn't sign up to type or swipe or click. They really want to go out and build relationships and sell things. And my fantasy is like, wouldn't it be cool if you could just talk to your enterprise application, whether it's CRM or ERP or whatever acronym you want to throw out there, if you could just talk to it like we're talking right now and get your stuff done? Is that just mere fantasy, or do you see a day when we actually could do that
No,
kind of conversation with our apps?
no, it shouldn't be. I mean, especially nowadays when most of these, you mentioned like, okay, I've got to go back into Salesforce and update this record after I have this conversation with this customer or prospect. And if I, and we all know, right, a lot of times these records aren't that well updated, and then the business doesn't have the intelligence it needs to move forward, right? The pipeline's not up to date. You're not able to learn from that. A lot of these conversations now are like we're having, right? They're remote. They're not, in a conference room in some building, or even if they're in a conference room in some building, there's often somebody who is remote. And so there is a system listening to this conversation. I mean, just being able to transcribe that conversation and be able to do that for, in this case, the account manager or whoever's involved would be great. And that's all capable today. So, I mean, because it's just like this conversation. This conversation is transcribed. You're using some ASR function to transcribe the conversation. Then you're applying some, NLU or NLP function to understand the context of what the heck we're talking about. And then you could pretty easily go and update a lot of those standard fields. And this is all repetitive stuff. I mean, the more repetitive an activity is, the easier it should be to apply AI.
Yeah. As I listen to you talk about it, I know that this is being transcribed in real time. Because if you go to, I think on Facebook, you actually see it. And it always freaks me out. Wait a minute, that word looked like it came up before I actually said it, but here it is being transcribed. It's really interesting to see that. And it's also taking those transcriptions, running it through the AI, finding the potentially important insights, being able to relay those insights in real time during a conversation and provide a next best action kind of recommendation, all in real time. It seems like there's a lot of incentive to do that, but it also feels like, maybe you could tell me, if we were to say, you use the football analogy, I'm going to go baseball on you. I'm going to say, what inning are we in with all this technology to get us to, kind of the promised land of conversational speech AI? Where are we?
Well, I mean, I would say, what we have today can provide immense capabilities to enterprises and organizations today. So, in one sense, there's so much available to leverage. But in the greater scheme of things, I mean, it's ever evolving, right? I mean, I would say, yeah, you could say we're in the early innings. I think we're going to be in the early innings for a long time. We're in this. This is a wave of new technology and technology transformation that it's like we went through the internet wave, and we went through the mobile phone wave. I mean, this is just as big of a wave, if not bigger. So it's gonna go on for some time, it's like I'd say the best way is just to engage, right? Get involved early. And there's a lot of low hanging fruit to leverage, right? I know a lot of times people think of, okay, I want to apply AI to this challenge. It's like, oh, feels like boiling the ocean, but it doesn't have to be. Doesn't have to be boiling the ocean. I mean, like even we're talking about contact centers and providing customer experiences. Just how quickly can I get to to an agent, whether it's a human or virtual, that can help me out? I mean, a lot of times we spend minutes just preparing for the automated system in the background to make a decision of who that system wants to put me in touch with. Especially if it's a client of yours, that should be very rapid. You already know a lot about your clients. Leverage that, in these experiences to get their issue resolved as quickly as possible. Like here's an example. I have 4 kids. I've probably called Costco to order pizza 5,000 times. Why do I have to? I call the same number every time, and I push the same numbers on the phone tree. That should be automated, right? That'd be wouldn't it be nice if I called in and said, "Oh, hello, Mr. Pounds. Would you like to order 4 pizzas again?" Yes, that'd be great. And then I'm off the call.
Yeah.
That could, there's an example of something that AI could do.
Yeah. It's funny you mentioned that. I mean, I have a Google TV subscription. It feels like, they're learning a lot about, what I watch, when I watch. And I noticed that at certain times of the day, and I don't know, maybe we're getting a little off topic, but at certain times of the day, when I turn the TV on, it prompts me for the stations or shows that I traditionally watch at that time of the day. So you could feel the learning, and you could feel it moving in, and then to a certain extent, that's almost like a silent conversation that I'm having with this device, because the device is learning through all the other interactions I have, what it should do for me at a particular point in time. So that this is just really fascinating stuff. So last question. When I talk to maybe you next year, after another year of going, seeing developments take place, what are we going to be talking about that's going to be, kind of actually something that was, we think it'll happen, but maybe a year from now, we're actually going to be doing some of these things?
Yeah, I really think in a year from now, you're just going to see a lot more adoption of these capabilities. I think we're in an interesting time right now, right? There's a lot of uncertainty, a lot of global uncertainty. There's uncertainty in the markets. Now is the time where every business and organization is thinking about efficiency. And I think because of that alone, that paired with the technology that's at our fingertips today, I think you're going to see a lot of changes in this next year, because it's going to be required. I mean, sometimes forcing functions can be a benefit, where you're going to see a lot of adoption, of these capabilities, or even utilization of capabilities that may already be in their platform, right? And they just need to turn them on and customize them for their own business. And as for us on the consumer side, I think we're going to see a lot more of that. And I hope that because of that, the goal is going to be, you're going to actually have better customer experiences at the same time when companies are going to be trying to drive out operating expenses and things like this, just to remain competitive. So I'm interested to see, as we go into calendar year 2023, where there's going to be a decent amount of uncertainty, how businesses make certain moves to provide even better experiences for their clients, while driving out costs. So I mean, it's only my recommendation to everyone is just engage. This stuff's new. Sometimes it's daunting. The thing not to do is hunker down. Think of creative ways, find ways that you can use technology and AI and more advanced data science capabilities to progress forward, remain competitive while driving out a good amount of cost. So it's all about just reaching out, having conversations. There's great communities that are working on this new technology.
Erik, this has been a great conversation. Where can people go to learn more about some of the things that we talked about?
Yeah, you can definitely. I mean, obviously, you can go to our website, Nvidia.com. A lot of people don't know, much about what Nvidia is. And people think of us as, we're a semiconductor company or what have you. We have thousands of very capable developers, software engineers that want to engage in communities and with customers. And so if you have a challenge, we're more than happy to engage. If we can't help you out, we're happy to direct you, in the right place. I would just go to nvidia.com and check out some of the things we have around speech AI, around conversational AI, around Nvidia Riva, which is our framework for speech AI. There's really interesting demos there. And when you want to engage further, we can help you do that without any cost to you, right? We even have a platform called Nvidia Launchpad, which allows you to actually play with the Riva speech AI technology without having to buy any servers or rent any space in Amazon or Google or anything. You just do it right through NVIDIA, all for free, and you can go through the entire workflow and learn how to customize speech AI for you. So that's all available on NVIDIA.com.
It's funny you mentioned, some people don't know what you do. I think most people maybe still think of NVIDIA as, oh, you make those great graphics cards for gaming. That's how I originally knew you guys.
And we still do. we still do. But that same technology is really excellent when it comes to working with large amounts of data, and to drive these new automated capabilities moving forward.
Yeah, no, that's good to know. I saw just briefly, I think your CEO and founder was actually a part of the Oracle Cloud World event I was at last week. It was pretty cool. So, I mean, yeah, it's so interesting to see how NVIDIA has grown from that original kind of use case and product into all these enterprisey like things that most people were like, wow, I didn't know NVIDIA was into that. So it's really cool to see how that's kind of taking place. One last thing, this has been a great conversation, but I ask everybody who joins me a last parting question, and regardless of how great the conversation was, answer this the wrong way and I might not ever talk to you again. Not to put any pressure on you, but I just thought I'd put it out there. So do you have a favorite NFL team?
Oh, well, I'm literally 2 miles away from Levi's Stadium, so I'm going to go with the Niners. We're struggling a little bit, but I think some things are going to come around once we get healthy. So that's going to be. I could give you a much longer answer. I grew up a Rams fan, but they got moved to St. Louis, and I could never. I know. I saw your hat. I see your shirt. I like, and that's a.
I don't. You have just made. There's usually only one wrong answer, and it's not the Niners. It's the Patriots. I can't stand the Patriots.
Yeah, I'm not a Patriots fan, but I'll tell you, when I was a kid and they moved the team to St. Louis, I was just heartbroken. And now they're back, and so I'm giving them a little bit of hope. So
okay, because you're getting ready to put me in a weird dilemma, like a Ram fan that went away, and I'd never been like never had that answer before. But okay, I'm gonna make a pass on that. They're back. Maybe they can rekindle that old feeling. I hope. Well, I mean, they did win a Super Bowl, so that ought to help a little bit. So
that definitely helps.
But
and
Erik,
they have an amazing stadium, so they're
there it is. Erik, it's been a pleasure speaking with you. Thanks again for making the time. And thanks for folks to checking this out. And I'll see you later this week because I think we're doing CRM players tomorrow and Thursday. So thanks again, and we will talk to you later.
Take care.